The galaxy is filled with whispers. Not the kind traded in marketplaces or sung in cantinas, but the kind carried by soldiers who survived when their fleets did not. They tell of a ship, human in origin, though no human had been seen aboard it for centuries. A vessel scarred, ancient and unyielding, capable of erasing entire armadas with terrifying ease. They called it many things. The Phantom of Sol, the Widowmaker, the Wraith in the Dark. But to most, it was simply the ghost ship. Admirals dismissed it as propaganda. Officers laughed it off as an excuse for incompetence. Yet each cycle, more fleets went silent. Wreckage floated in the void with the same signature, scorched by a weapon no alien race could identify. No salvage crew could replicate. Still, skeptics held firm. One ship against the galaxy's finest fleets? Impossible. Fleets meant numbers, firepower, overwhelming precision. No solitary vessel could withstand thousands. That was what Vakari Sub-Commander Relan believed. He stood inside the command deck of the battlecruiser Druvax Fang, staring at a star map studded with blinking alerts. His mandibles clicked in irritation as his officers argued. Another fleet lost in the Persei corridor, one reported. To pirates, surely, Relan snapped back. Pirates do not leave 300 warships burning in perfect silence. Another countered. Relan exhaled through clenched teeth. Fear was spreading among his crew. Superstition could rot discipline faster than enemy fire. Then the alert came. A piercing chime cut through the chamber, and the holographic map shifted. A red icon had appeared at the edge of contested space. A single vessel. No escort. No allies. The ghost ship. The command deck fell into an uneasy hush. Even the low hum of engines seemed to falter. Relan's eyes narrowed, mandibles twitching. It's a trick, he muttered. A scout. A decoy. But his officers exchanged glances heavy with dread. None dared voice what they all thought. No scout ever traveled alone this deep into contested territory. The ship's image magnified on the holoscreen. Relan's gut twisted despite himself. It was old. Ancient, even. Its hull bore the scars of battles fought before most species had taken to the stars. Yet it floated with deliberate grace. Each movement purposeful, as if it weighed more than gravity itself. What unsettled him most was its silence. No comms broadcast. No insignia, except a single human crest etched across its blackened plating. A symbol the galaxy had not seen in generations. All batteries prepared, Relan ordered. Let the galaxy's phantom learn. It bleeds like any other. As his fleet maneuvered into formation, he felt the tension rolling off his crew. Some prayed under their breath. Others tightened their grips on consoles until claws drew blood. Superstition, Relan thought again. He would prove them wrong. But doubt clawed at him in ways he could not suppress. If the rumors were lies, why did this vessel inspire such primal fear? Why did admirals never laugh after seeing it? The fleet opened fire. A storm of plasma and missiles engulfed the human vessel. The darkness of space lit with brilliance, as though a newborn sun had erupted between the stars. The shockwaves rattled Relan's bones, a display of force fit to shatter worlds. And then, silence. The light faded. The void cleared. The human ship remained, not even scorched, not even scratched. Relan's mandibles went slack. His officers froze in disbelief. Dozens of warheads, thousands of shots, absorbed, negated, erased, as though the ship had simply chosen not to be harmed. The crew whispered the name again, voices trembling. The ghost ship. Relan forced himself to stand tall, though his hearts raced. Continue bombardment, he barked. No vessel is invincible. Yet deep inside, he knew something his words could not conceal. For the first time in his career, he looked at a single enemy and felt the weight of entire fleets behind it. Because legends had to be born from somewhere. The battlefield held its breath. Every gun in Relan's fleet glowed red-hot, every warhead spent. Yet the human vessel floated untouched, like a predator wading calmly through a storm. No flame licked its hull. No smoke trailed its scarred frame. It simply endured, silent and still, daring them to try again. Rellen's mandibles clicked, his throat dry. His crew stared at the holoscreen in stunned silence, the impossible playing out before their eyes. This cannot be," muttered his tactical officer. "Not even shield matrices of the Kaltari hold against such fire." Rellen forced a growl into his voice. "It's damaged. Must be. Look at it, it's ancient. Just an old Earth relic." But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. The vessel's surface was pitted with scars, gouges left by weapons long extinct. Yet every wound looked healed in some strange way. Melted edges sealed, as if the ship itself had refused to break. The hollow image magnified, showing the crest upon its hull more clearly now. A human insignia, stylized like wings wrapped around, a single star. Rellen had seen the symbol once, buried in archives of the old war. Humans had worn it during their last stand, before they vanished into silence. "Orders, Sub-Commander?" The question came timid, as if the officer feared his own words might provoke the ghost. Rellen steadied himself. Fear was poison on a warship. He would not let it spread. "Form the phalanx, tighten the net. We will overwhelm it with mass." His fleet obeyed, ships shifting into a crescent wall. Dozens of cruisers, carriers, and destroyers surrounded the solitary vessel, boxing it in from every angle. Rellen felt a flicker of pride. Here in numbers was the strength of the Vakari. One ship, no matter how fearsome, could not face thousands. "Signal the fleet," Rellen commanded. "Prepare synchronized barrage." But as his voice echoed, something strange happened. The human vessel moved. Not fast, not yet, but deliberate, graceful, like a predator lifting its head at last. Thrusters ignited faintly, no brighter than embers. And with that slight adjustment, every ship in Rellen's fleet shifted nervously, as though the movement of one relic outweighed them all. On the view screen, Rellen swore he saw the ship's scars glowing faintly, lines of light crawling across, its hull like veins awakening. "Sub-Commander," whispered his communications officer. "It's powering up." Rellen's mandibles twitched. "Then so do we. Fire on my mark." He raised a claw, poised to give the order, and froze. The vessel's weapons arrays came alive, not with the furious crackle of plasma, but with a hum, low, deep, ancient. It reverberated through the hull of Rellen's own ship, a vibration in his bones. The sound of something that had waited too long, something that had been patient until patience ended. The hum grew. Lights across the human ship's surface pulsed in rhythm, as if awakening from centuries of slumber. Rellen's second officer's voice cracked. "Sub-Commander, are you certain?" I said. "Fire," Rellen roared. Batteries unleashed hell, once more. Plasma streaked, torpedoes burned, missiles screamed through the void, thousands of shots converged. The human ship did not evade, did not shield, did not even flinch. Instead, its forward cannon glowed white-hot, energy condensing into a single point. The hum rose to a thunderous pitch, then silence. The beam fired. Rellen's vision seared white. The cannon's discharge cut across the void in a perfect line, as though drawing a scar across space itself. Every ship in its path, cruisers, destroyers, even capital carriers, split open like paper under flame. In one instant, 1/3 of Rellen's fleet vanished, reduced to drifting wreckage and burning debris. The silence afterward was worse than the blast. Rellen gripped the railing, mandibles trembling. He had seen superweapons before. None moved like this. None fired with such precision, such restraint. Because this was not indiscriminate destruction. It was a demonstration. The ghost ship had chosen its path carefully, slicing the fleet apart without touching Rellen's command vessel. A warning. Around him, the crew sat in stunned paralysis, staring at death embodied. One beam, one strike, thousands gone. And still the ship floated, patient as a god waiting for the next prayer. Relan forced himself to speak, though his voice cracked. Reform ranks. Hold position. But his words carried no conviction, and his crew knew it. Against such a thing, formations were meaningless. On the comms, a whisper spread from ship to ship. It fired once. Just once. The void still burned. Wreckage spun silently through the darkness. Shards of shattered carriers tumbling like embers scattered from a dying fire. Where moments ago thousands of warships had loomed in disciplined formation, now only silence and drifting ruin remained. Relan gripped the railing so tightly his claws dug grooves into the metal. His second heart hammered against his ribs. That one strike, it had not been random. It had been precise, a surgeon's blade carving straight through the strongest spine of his formation. A third of his fleet gone in a single breath. And the human vessel, still untouched. Report, Relan rasped. The tactical officer's voice trembled. 48 destroyers lost, 22 cruisers annihilated, 2 carriers split in half. Casualty estimates, catastrophic. The comms crackled, with chaos, survivors screaming, commanders begging for orders, others abandoning discipline entirely as panic took hold. Relan slammed a claw against the console. Silence the channel, no fear on this deck. But his command rang hollow. Fear, already, owned them. On the view screen, the ghost ship glided forward. No chase, no frenzy, just steady, unstoppable momentum, as if pulled by some gravity stronger than stars. Its cannon still glowed faintly like an ember that had not yet cooled, an ember promising fire again. Relan's breathing hitched. It hadn't even fired to kill them all. It had fired to show them what could happen. Sub-Commander. The voice came from his communications officer, quiet, shaking. It didn't miss, it spared you. Relan's mandibles clicked sharply, snapping the silence. Do not speak of... But his words died as a transmission blinked across his console. Not static. Not a demand. Not even words. It was a feed. A simple replay. On screen, the human vessel's strike was shown again, captured from dozens of angles. Not the chaos of battle, not the screaming of dying crews, only the precision. The path carved straight through the strongest ships, leaving Relan's command intact. Almost as if the ghost ship itself wanted him to watch. Wanted him to know. His crew whispered behind him, voices breaking. Why did it spare us? Why only one shot? Why not all? The answer pulsed in Relan's mind, cold and undeniable. Because the ghost ship didn't need to. His tactical officer finally broke, turning in his chair, eyes wide. Sub-Commander, we must retreat. It cannot be fought. It cannot be killed. Relan's mandibles quivered. Retreat meant shame. Retreat meant the Council branding him a coward, yet staying meant death. Not just his, but the annihilation of every Vakari life under his command. His pride wrestled his reason. And in that moment, the ghost ship moved again. Its cannon dimmed, then powered with terrifying speed. Energy built into a second charge, but this time, the ship tilted its nose slightly upward, aligning not with the Vakari survivors but with empty void. The hum returned. The sound filled Relan's bones, louder, deeper, resonant like the voice of some ancient god preparing to speak. And then, the second shot came. But it did not strike ships. It tore into the emptiness above, ripping open space itself. The void screamed as a rift spread outward, light flaring in violent arcs. For a heartbeat, Relan thought the universe itself had cracked open. His crew shrieked, some covering their ears as though the light had a sound. The shot carved a line through nothing, leaving no wreckage behind, only proof. Proof that the ship had chosen not to fire on them, that the precision of its weapon was absolute. The message was clear. You live only because I allow it. Relan's breath came ragged now, his pride shattered under the weight of that truth. He had led fleets against the fiercest enemies of the galaxy. He had seen planetary bombardments, chemical plagues, black hole weaponry. But never had he felt this helpless. Around him, officers wept openly, hardened Vakari warriors, broken by the realization that their lives existed only on the whim of one vessel. The ghost ship drifted closer, silent as death. Relin forced his shaking mandibles into words. Hold formation. No one. No one fire unless I command it. Even he knew the futility. No amount of firepower could wound that relic. One beam had erased thousands, and the second had been mercy. For the first time in his life, Relin wondered if gods walked among the stars. The battlefield had gone still. Ships that remained in Relin's fleet no longer moved in formation. They hovered in fractured clusters, too shaken to obey orders, too terrified to act without them. Thousands of Vakari soldiers sat frozen in their stations waiting for the next beam to carve them into nothing. But the beam never came. Instead, the comms lit up. Every screen aboard Relin's ship flickered at once, hijacked by the ghost ship. Static rippled through the air before resolving into an image, not of the vessel itself, but of something older, something human. At first, Relin thought it was a trick of history records, a grainy recording of two armies facing one another across ruined Earth. Not alien armies, human ones. Soldiers in torn uniforms, their weapons primitive compared to galactic standards, yet their eyes burned with the same fire Relin had seen in warriors across countless species. The footage jumped, a city aflame, skyscrapers collapsing in seas of ash. Clouds boiled into towering mushrooms that blotted out the sun. Millions perished in white light. The bridge of the Druvak's Fang fell silent. Officers who moments ago clutched weapons now clutched their chests. They had seen planetary bombardments. But this was different. This was not an alien war against humanity. This was humanity against itself. The image shifted again. Human hands rebuilding rubble into towers. Broken armies shaking hands across no man's land. Cities rising from ashes, stronger than before. Generations passed in the flicker of a moment. War, ruin, unity, expansion. Relin's breath caught. They burned their own world, he whispered. And lived. The tactical officer's mandibles hung slack. No species survives that. No species chooses that. The final image filled the screens. A human flag. Not over rubble, not over ruin, but over the stars. A fleet, vast, gleaming, countless, departing Earth, bound for the galaxy. The last great human armada before their disappearance. The recording ended. And for the first time, the ghost ship spoke. Its voice was not a voice at all, but many, layered, distorted, echoing, as if thousands spoke through a single throat. Old, tired, yet steady with conviction. We fought ourselves. We broke ourselves. We bled ourselves until no blood remained. And we endured. What you bring against us is nothing compared to what we have already done to ourselves. The words reverberated through the deck, not in sound but in bone. Relin staggered as though struck. The voice continued. You believe numbers make you strong. We buried billions in our soil and rose stronger still. You think weapons make you invincible. We built weapons that unmade worlds, and yet we live. You think fear will shatter us. Fear is our oldest companion. The holoscreens lit once more, this time with a single image. Earth itself, blue and scarred, but alive. Its continents bore the marks of nuclear fire, of oceans that had risen and fallen. Yet life pulsed across it. Cities glittered. Oceans teemed. Forests stretched green once again. Relin's crew stared in silence. They had mocked Earth as a forgotten backwater, a world the galaxy had abandoned. But here it stood. Not conquered, not extinct, but enduring. The ghost ship's voice lowered, heavy with finality. You cannot defeat us, because we already defeated ourselves. The message ended. Silence returned. But it was no longer the silence of dread. It was the silence of comprehension, of terror given form. The Vakari officers looked at one another, realization dawning in their eyes. This was not a phantom, not a myth. This was history itself, sharpened into a blade. Relin felt something he had not in decades of service: shame. Shame that he had dismissed the stories, that he had believed numbers could stand against a species that had waged war upon itself and still climbed to the stars. His mandibles tightened. He finally understood the truth. The ghost ship was not here to win battles. It was here to remind the galaxy of what humans had been and what they still were. The galaxy would not ignore the ghost ship. Relin's report, trembling though his voice had been, spread faster than light. Dozens of species that once mocked the legend now sat in fear of it. A single vessel had humbled an entire Vakari fleet. What would it do if it reached the heart of their empires? The Council of Banners gathered, species that had not stood in the same chamber for centuries. They argued, shrieked, clawed at one another, but for once every tongue bent toward one agreement. The ghost ship must be destroyed. So they built a trap. Not a skirmish, not a battle. A cage. Armadas from across the spiral converged on a single star system. Hundreds of fleets, thousands of warships, carriers the size of continents. They wove a net across the void, a lattice of gravity wells and interdiction fields that no ship could warp through. No vessel could escape. At the trap's heart, they placed their greatest weapon, the Sky Sunder, a supermassive cannon forged from collapsed stars. It was forbidden by treaty, outlawed even in times of war. One shot from it could crack a planet in half. Now it waited, humming, its power coils bright as suns. Relin stood on the command deck of his carrier, Druvak's Fang, among the combined fleets. He watched as the trap was completed, ships slotting into position like the teeth of a monstrous jaw. Some part of him whispered this was folly. He remembered the message, the words still etched into his mind. You cannot defeat us, because we already defeated ourselves. Yet pride warred with reason. Surely even a human relic could not survive this. Surely even legends had limits. The comms blared. Contact! The ghost ship has entered system. A ripple of unease spread through the vast armada. Thousands of crews stiffened, weapons warming, shields raised. And then it appeared, a single silhouette against the star-scarred hull gliding with steady purpose. No escort, no allies. Just one vessel drifting into the cage meant to annihilate it. The fleets closed in, the lattice snapping shut. Gravity wells shimmered like glowing chains. The Sky Sunder thrummed, its coils now white-hot. Relin's claws dug into the railing. The ghost ship slowed as if it knew, as if it had accepted the challenge. The order came. Fire. The galaxy unleashed its fury. Thousands of warships poured fire across the void. Plasma rivers, torpedo storms, kinetic, spears light brighter than stars filled the trap, converging upon the solitary vessel. The human ship vanished in the blaze. And then, the Sky Sunder fired. The void screamed as a beam of raw gravitational energy tore space itself, a wound of light that split the dark. The shot struck dead center, engulfing the ghost ship. For a heartbeat, Relin thought it was over. No vessel could endure that. No legend could walk out of a star's death. The light faded. And dread filled the silence. The ghost ship remained. Its hull glowed faintly, scars burning brighter, as though the attack had only fed it. The Sky Sunder's beam cracked around it, bending, breaking, consumed like rain upon stone. Across the fleets, officers fell into stunned silence. No cheers, no orders, just horror. Then comma. Without warning, the ghost ship vanished. One moment it floated at the trap's heart. The next, it was gone. Alarm screamed across Relin's bridge. It's inside the perimeter. It's... Before the officer could finish, the comms erupted with death cries. Screens showed the impossible. The ghost ship reappearing inside the command carrier of the Sky Sunder. Weapons flared, carving corridors of fire through the massive vessel. Explosions rippled outward like chain lightning as the command carrier tore apart from within. The Sky Sunder went silent. The trap unraveled. Fleets broke. Order dissolved. Relin watched as the ghost ship emerged from the burning wreckage, drifting calm, untouched. Thousands of ships surrounded it, yet none dared Fire. Because they knew now. No cage could hold it. Relin had never known silence could be so loud. The battlefield lay in ruin once again, flames trailing from shattered carriers, broken hulls drifting like bones in the void. Thousands of ships had come to trap the ghost ship. Thousands more had fled in panic when the trap collapsed. And still it remained. One vessel, untouched, unharmed, unbowed. Relin stood on the bridge of the Druvak's Fang, staring at the abyssal silhouette framed against the stars. It had moved closer, deliberate as a predator circling its wounded prey. Every console hummed with alarms, every officer sat paralyzed at their stations, waiting for the inevitable. Then the order came, a message from the surviving council admirals. Cut through the comms. Vakari's ship engaged the ghost. Delay it at all costs. Delay it. Relan's mandibles twitched at the absurdity. What was one ship against a god that carved fleets like paper? What could he possibly delay except death itself? His crew stared at him, eyes wide, hands trembling over their controls. They knew the order. They also knew what obeying it meant. Relan's tactical officer broke the silence first. "Sub-Commander, if we fire, we die." His comms officer whispered, "If we don't fire, the Council will brand us traitors." And then, the hardest truth came from his helmsman. "Either way, we are already dead." The ghost ship edged closer. Its cannon arrays pulsed faintly with light, a reminder of what a single shot could do. Relin could almost feel its gaze on him, heavy and unyielding. Though no living eyes looked from its hull. His throat was dry. His claws dug into the railing until the metal groaned. Obedience had been bred into him since hatching. Orders were survival. Orders were life. But orders had never faced this. His crew's gazes bore into him. Waiting, hoping, terrified. Relin forced his mandibles to move. His voice cracked when it left him. "Prepare. Weapons." The words fell like a death knell across the bridge. Officers flinched. Some lowered their heads. Others whispered prayers. The targeting sensors locked onto the ghost ship. Red sigils blinked across the main view screen, painting its hull like marks of execution. Except execution was impossible. They all knew it. Relin swallowed hard, heartbeats hammering in his chest. His claw hovered over the firing control. All he had to do was press it, fulfill his orders. Die. But something in him refused. Not fear, not cowardice. Something deeper. Memory of the message. The images of Earth tearing itself apart. Humans enduring ruin no other species could imagine. The voice that had spoken not in threat, but in weary truth. We already defeated ourselves. Relin lowered his claw, slowly, deliberately. "No," he said. The single word froze the bridge. His officers stared, unable to believe. He raised his voice, steadier now. "We will not fire." "Sub-Commander," the tactical officer shouted, mandibles quivering. "That's disobedience, that's death." Relin turned, his gaze like iron. "It is wisdom. No fleet survived by obeying today. None survived by pride. If you wish to live, we will not fire." The comms erupted with demands from the Council. Orders screamed across channels. Relin cut them off with a single motion, silencing the bridge. And in the silence that followed, he did something no other had dared. He opened a channel, directly to the ghost ship. "Human vessel," Relin said, his voice raw, trembling but clear. "You have shown us our weapons mean nothing. You have shown us our fleets mean less. If you mean to end us, do so. But I will not throw lives away against what cannot be stopped." For a moment, only silence answered. Then, the comms filled with a voice. Not distorted, not layered, not the many voices from before, just one, human, calm, tired. "You understand now, don't you?" Relin felt his chest tighten. His mandibles clicked softly, helplessly, and for the first time since the battle began, he lowered his head. Not in defeat, but in recognition. "Yes," he whispered. "I do." The ghost ship did not fire. Its weapons dimmed, the hum fading to silence once again. Relin's crew exhaled, As one, the weight of death momentarily lifted. Some wept, some clutched their consoles, all alive by a choice not their own. Reland stared at the dark silhouette against the stars. His pride burned away, his obedience shattered. In their place remained something stronger, understanding. Reland never thought he would live to see the inside of the ghost ship. No one did. But when the vessel extended a docking arm, a gesture of invitation rather than annihilation, he knew there was no turning back. The council screamed treason across the comms. His crew pleaded for him to reconsider. Yet something deeper than duty pulled him forward. So he chose. The Druvak's fang latched onto the human vessel's airlock with a thunderous clang. Atmosphere hissed, doors slid open, and for the first time in 10,000 years, a living being stepped aboard the ghost ship. The corridor was silent. Not dead, not empty. Silent. The walls were scorched metal, etched with fractures that glowed faintly, as though embers still lingered from wars long past. Strange symbols lined the bulkheads, unreadable but heavy with history. Reland's breath fogged in his mask. Each step echoed too loud, swallowed instantly by the stillness. His claw brushed a wall and recoiled. The surface was warm, thrumming faintly, like the heartbeat of something not entirely mechanical. He was being watched. Not by cameras, not by sensors, by the ship itself. A voice drifted from deeper within, faint but clear. Come. Reland stiffened. The voice wasn't broadcast. It wasn't in his comms. It whispered directly into his mind. He followed. The corridor twisted, turning through shadows broken by sparks of dim, dying light. Sometimes he thought he heard footsteps behind him, but when he turned, nothing. Sometimes he swore he saw figures in the corner of his vision, shadows of humans, gaunt and weary, flickering like ghosts against the walls. And then he reached it. The chamber at the heart of the vessel. A throne room of ruin. Screens, shattered and dark, lined the walls like broken mirrors. Stasis pods stood in rings, their glass cracked, empty save for ashes. The floor bore scorch marks. Old blood dried into black stains that had never been cleaned. And in the center, a single chair. It faced away from him, high-backed, metal fused with bone. And on it, a figure sat. Reland froze. His mandibles clicked, soundlessly. A human. The man was thin, his face pale, his eyes sunken but burning with a fire that made Reland's chest tighten. He wore no armor, no crown of command. Just a ragged uniform, patched and scarred like the vessel itself. When he spoke, the voice was calm, broken but steady. You've seen what our ship can do. Reland swallowed. I've seen death, fleets, worlds undone. You did this alone? The man's lips curled. Not a smile, but something like it. No, we all did. Once. He gestured at the empty pods around him. Now I remain. The last. The weight of it struck Reland like a cannon blast. One man, one relic. And yet he carried the fury of billions. The human's eyes fixed on him, unblinking. Do you know why we are feared? Reland's mandibles clicked nervously. Because your weapons, your fleets. No. The human cut him off, voice sharp. Because we destroyed ourselves. Every weapon you fear, we turned first on our own kind. Every world you whisper about, we burned before you were born. We did not need enemies. We were our own. Reland staggered back. The room seemed to close around him. Shadows of ash clung to the walls, the echoes of screams long past pressing into his ears. The human leaned forward, his voice lowering to a whisper that carried like thunder. We learned the one truth your galaxy has never dared. Survival does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to those who can endure their own ruin and rise again. Reland's heart pounded in his chest. He understood now. This was why fleets fell, why weapons shattered, why no trap could hold. The ghost ship was not a vessel. It was a graveyard, and the graveyard still fought. The human rose slowly from the chair, his movements stiff but certain. His gaze never wavered from Raylan. "You will tell them," he said. "You will speak for us, so they finally remember why Earth is left alone." Raylan wanted to protest, to ask why he had been chosen, why he was spared. But the words stuck in his throat. Because deep down, he already knew. The galaxy would never listen to a human, but they might listen to him. Raylan's claws trembled as he stepped back through the ghost ship's corridor. Every shadow pressed closer now, every whisper louder. He no longer mistook them for hallucinations. They were memories, etched into the vessel itself, bleeding, into his mind. He had seen their pods, their blood, their ruin, humanity's grave. Humanity's weapon. And one survivor, still burning with the fire of billions. When the airlock cycled shut behind him, Raylan nearly collapsed against the bulkhead of his own ship. His crew rushed forward, desperate for answers. None came. He only raised his hand and rasped, "Undock, now." The clamps released. The Druvac's fang drifted free, its crew silent as the ghost ship loomed in the viewport. No pursuit, no attack. Just that black silhouette against the stars, watching. Raylan's comms erupted instantly with the Council's fury. "Sub-Commander Raylan, you boarded that vessel against orders. You ignored direct command to fire." Another voice cut in, shrill, with rage. "You will be executed for treason." Raylan's mandibles clicked once, softly. He cut the channels open to every ship still listening, every commander hiding in the wreckage of the failed ambush. His voice shook at first, then steadied with iron. "You call me traitor because I refused to fire at death itself. You call me coward because I bowed before something stronger. But listen to me now." He pointed toward the ghost ship on the screen, his crew watching in fearful awe. "That vessel is not your enemy. It is your lesson. Humanity destroyed itself, and still stands where our fleets have crumbled. They have carried ruin and endured it. We cannot defeat them because they already did what we fear most. They conquered themselves." The channel erupted with protests, denials, shouts of anger. Raylan cut through them all. "You will remember this, or you will die repeating it." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. And then the Council gave the only answer it could. "Return to base, Raylan. Face judgment." He almost laughed. Judgment. What judgment could they pass when the galaxy's greatest truth had just stood before him? Before he could respond, his tactical officer gasped, "Sub-Commander, look." On the view screen, the ghost ship stirred. Its cannons flared once more, but not at them. Not at the survivors. It turned and vanished into the dark. No warp flare, no signal, no trace. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, swallowed by the endless void. The bridge fell silent. 4, the first time since the battle began. Raylan exhaled. But he knew peace would not last. His words had been broadcast across every surviving ship. Some would listen, most would not. The Council would brand him a liar, a coward, a conspirator. And yet, he knew what he had seen. He knew what he must carry. He turned to his crew. Their eyes burned with fear, but also with something else. Faith. "We are not going back," Raylan said. His voice carried no hesitation now. "Not to the Council, not to their chains. We will carry the truth where they refuse to hear it." The helmsman hesitated. To whom, Sub-Commander?" Raylan's mandibles clicked. "To the stars. To every world that believes fleets make them strong. To every admiral who thinks numbers will save them. We will tell them of Earth. We will tell them why they were left alone." His crew exchanged looks. Some nodded. Some wept in quiet dread. But none refused. The engines rumbled to life. The Druvac's fang turned from the wreckage, leaving the graveyard behind. In the stillness of his command chair, Raylan let his gaze drift once more toward the empty stretch of space where the ghost ship had stood. He whispered almost to himself, "They will remember. Even if it kills me, they will remember. And somewhere far beyond the stars, a lone vessel carried on in silence, the last ember of a fire that had once consumed a world. The galaxy might forget again, but not forever, because now the warning had a voice.